If you only just learned his name because of his star turn in Elvis, you might be shocked to know that Austin Butler has been appearing on screen for nearly 20 years. Here's where you may have seen him before without even knowing it. Butler was born in Anaheim, California in 1991. His mother, Lori Ann, was a beautician and his father, David, is a real estate broker. Though his parents divorced when he was 7, Butler's upbringing was by all accounts normal, if perhaps a little solitary. He told GQ, "I didn't really have a passion for anything that included other people at that time. I wouldn't go play sports, I wouldn't do things with other kids." Though he attended elementary school in Orange County, he was homeschooled as a preschooler. He told the Orange County Register in 2016, "I have vivid memories of my mom saying, 'Instead of doing schoolwork, let's just go to Disneyland.' I have such happy memories of that place." Butler's big break would come at a different place of amusement, though. When he was 12, Butler was visiting the Orange County Fair with his stepbrother when they were approached by a representative for a background acting management company. Butler says the scout was initially interested in his stepbrother, who had a mop of unruly hair and a more distinctive look. Butler told the Register, "They said to my mom, 'You have another son, have him audition as well.'" Tagging along to the audition turned out to be a stroke of incredible luck. Butler soon was cast as a background character on the Nickelodeon sitcom Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, and from there he went on to appear in more than 40 episodes as Zippy Brewster, a James K. Polk middle school student and frequent classmate of the title character. Butler appeared on the 2nd and 3rd seasons of Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. While he was on the show, he was once again homeschooled and took acting classes, eventually testing out of high school at age 15. His co-star, Lindsay Shaw, put him in touch with her manager, Pat Cutler, who began to represent Butler as well. In 2007, he appeared on an episode of Nickelodeon's iCarly as Jake, the cutest boy in school.
But oh my god, he's so hot, I want to bake cookies on him.
I'd eat those cookies.
That same year, he made the leap to the Disney Channel, appearing on 2 episodes of Hannah Montana, with his biggest role as a cute but frightened young man. Then in 2008, he landed a recurring role in Season 4 of Zoey 101 on Nickelodeon as, you guessed it, the cutest boy in school. Sensing a trap in playing all these heartthrob roles, Butler sharpened his ambitions and pined for more serious work, telling GQ, "I wanted to do a part like What's Eating Gilbert Grape or The Basketball Diaries. I was watching Raging Bull and those types of films and going, I don't want to be the guy who walks in slow-mo through a door." Butler might have been done with cute guy roles, but they weren't quite done with him. In 2009, he booked his first feature film, 20th Century Fox sci-fi family adventure Aliens in the Attic. Part home invasion thriller, part kid-friendly creature feature, the film stars Carter Jenkins and Ashley Tisdale as a teenage brother and sister who discover that their Michigan vacation home has been infiltrated by diminutive extraterrestrials with the power to control the minds of grown-ups. Butler co-stars as the siblings' meathead cousin who gets roped into saving the world, and while he manages some decent physical comedy bits, the film wasn't particularly well received. Butler would play yet another dim-witted cousin that same year in the short-lived ABC Family sitcom Ruby and the Rockits, starring former Spy Kid Alexa Vega as Ruby and 1970s heartthrob David Cassidy as her estranged has-been rock star dad. The show attempted to be a whole bunch of things at once. It was a father-daughter reconciliation story and a behind-the-music parody, as well as a found family comedy. Ruby meets the cousins she never knew she had, including some out-of-place humor involving Butler as her horn dog relative. Ultimately, the show fell back on the type of dopey humor that wouldn't have been out of place in the juvenile Nick shows from which Butler had just graduated. In the early 2010s, Butler continued to book a succession of television roles that didn't veer too far from the teen heartthrobs he had played on Nickelodeon, though he did display an early aptitude for mimicry, breaking out a pretty good Matthew McConaughey impersonation on a 2010 episode of the Jonas Brothers Disney Channel series Jonas.
Well, I've got a web empire. I use it to spread my message. It's all about easy living, saving the ocean. If you want to be cool, buy my stuff.
In between guest appearances on The Wizards of Waverly Place and the High School Musical spin-off Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, he got to pop up in more adult-oriented shows like 2 of the CSI series and Are You There, Chelsea? Butler was also a regular on the teen dramas Life Unexpected and Switched at Birth. In 2013, he booked his highest-profile gig yet as Sebastian Kidd, the on- and off-again boyfriend of a young Carrie Bradshaw, in the CW's Sex and the City prequel, The Carrie Diaries. The series starred Anna Sophia Robb as Carrie, narrating her high school misadventures just as her adult counterpart would chronicle early aughts New York City. While the part was yet another hunk role for Butler, he did his best to cut through the poor little rich boy characterization. The mid to late 2010s saw Butler's film career pick up, co-starring with former iCarly star Miranda Cosgrove in the 2015 indie haunted house thriller The Intruders. He also appeared in films from two indie icon directors, Jim Jarmusch's zombie satire The Dead Don't Die and Kevin Smith's Yoga Hosers. Neither role would turn out to be life-changing, but a Eugene O'Neill Broadway revival starring Denzel Washington? That's a different story. In 2018, Butler was cast as a member of the massive ensemble of The Iceman Cometh, O'Neill's epic 1946 play of drunks and desperation, directed by George C. Wolfe and starring Washington, David Morse, Tammy Blanchard, and many more veterans of stage and screen. Butler told GQ that his plan to not get intimidated by Washington was essentially to outwork him, memorizing the entire script, always showing up to rehearsal before him, and so on. Eventually, Washington took notice and mentored Butler during the production. Butler said, "He'd start telling me thoughts about the scene, and suddenly I've got Denzel almost as an acting coach." The production earned mixed reviews, but Butler drew attention. Theater critic Hilton Al's review in The New Yorker called him out for an exceptional performance. While Butler was in The Iceman Cometh in New York, he was asked to submit an audition tape to Quentin Tarantino for his upcoming film. When he was 12, Butler kept a printed copy of the Pulp Fiction screenplay that he would recite to his mother while she drove, so he jumped at the chance to work with one of his heroes. Tarantino asked him to do a live audition, so Butler flew to Los Angeles on his day off, spent the day workshopping with the acclaimed director, and returned to New York within 24 hours, having landed the role. The film was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which does some revisionist history on the murder of Sharon Tate at the hands of the Manson family. Butler was cast as Charles Tex Watson, one of the many real-life figures portrayed in the film, a follower of Manson. In the film, Watson and his accomplices make an unplanned stop at the home of Tate's next-door neighbor, Rick Dalton, and are confronted by Dalton and his former stuntman and driver, Cliff Booth. When asked on the red carpet how he coped with playing such a dark figure, Butler told Variety that the monstrous nature of the role was tempered by the dream come true of working with Tarantino, as well as stars Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. In July 2019, Butler was named as the star of director Baz Luhrmann's biopic of Elvis. In that same red carpet interview at the premiere of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Butler's hair was already dyed jet black and swooped up with grease, and his voice was already bearing a very Elvis-like timbre. In a rarity for actors playing the king, Butler would be performing the music himself. For longtime fans, however, this was no surprise. He had been playing guitar and singing as far back as iCarly and Ruby and the Rockits. When asked how he was preparing to play one of the most recognizable pop culture figures of all time, Butler simply replied,
Many hours of hard work.
Butler delved into every facet of the life and influences of the king and found a tragic personal connection. Both Butler and Presley lost their mother at age 23. Production on the film stretched on for nearly 2 years due to delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. When filming finally wrapped in March 2021, Butler's body gave out the very next day.
It was about a week that I was bedridden.
But Butler's work was well worth the effort. Even critics who don't much like Luhrmann's maximalist style found the actor's performance to be a truly mesmerizing act of impersonation. While poised at the edge of stardom, Butler is a working actor at heart, as evidenced by those many years in the teen show trenches. So even though he has some big roles, Butler already has his next gigs lined up. He will star in the Apple TV Plus series Masters of the Air, the latest World War II drama produced by Butler's Elvis co-star Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, among others. Based on the book of the same name by Donald L. Miller, the series depicts the valiant efforts of the U.S. 8th Air Force Division fighting the war in Europe from above. The series caps off an unofficial trilogy of Hanks Spielberg World War II chronicles that began with 2001's Band of Brothers and continued with 2010's The Pacific. Butler will also step into the role once played by rock star Sting, the villainous Harkonnen warrior Fade Routha, in the second installment of Denis Villeneuve's blockbuster adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune.